Hi everybody and welcome back to my modeling channel. So today we're gonna build a BF109 or Messerschmitt 109 E on scale 1/72 from Eduard. So let's open the box and see what we have inside. So we're coming up with the instruction sheet. As you can see, it's a real booklet, so we're gonna open it slowly all together. And initially you have a kit descriptions with what you have, and of course on the Profi edition you have the mask and some colored photo etch part. So initially you're gonna come and build up the cockpit, and I have to say that that aircraft is actually, that kit seems to be really nice. You have lots of details and you even have the options to make the engine. So I think I'm gonna do that, as I never did. So that's gonna be another new challenge for me, as I never built an engine and so many details, but I'll give it a try and hopefully the result will be nice. So lots of details, as you can see. And then we come to all the options. So we have one options, they are all World War II German pilots. They all existed. The first one is one of the most well-known pilots in the Luftwaffe. It was Adolf Galland, who was the youngest general, and of course an over 100 ace. Then the second one is Wilhelm Balthasar, also another ace, and we have basically up to a few different options, but 2 aces and all the rest are here. So, and then the last page is about all the structure decals. So that's going to be also a very interesting model. So let's move on now to the kit itself. So initially we have some clear parts and with 2 options for the windows. So that's going to be quite interesting. I really look forward to that. And of course now we're going to move on to the kit itself. So the big sprue here is about all the details we're going to have for the interior, the exhaust pipe, and actually it's very well detailed. It's very small parts, but they are really, the molds are such a good quality, so we're going to enjoy that. And the last part is mainly about the aircraft itself. So we have the lower part of the wings, we have the upper sides with very fine engravements. You also have all the structure lines and the rivet. You have the basically the engines, the flaps, even some slats. So that's going to be really a beautiful kit to build. So I really look forward to that. So now let's move on to the photo etch part. And we're gonna open them and then you can have a closer look. Let me check this. Okay, so you have all the cockpit colors and everything has been already pre-printed. So oops, I have to say it's really nice. I hope you can have a nice view from there. Then of course all the masking tape, and then we're gonna move on to the decal sheet. And as you can see, well, some of the decal sheet have the swastika. As you probably saw my model now, I will try to avoid to display those, as there is a lot of always lots of controversy, so I'm just not displaying them. I'll put them on the model, but they won't be very visible. That's what I'm trying to do, to avoid having some more issues. And those are all the panel lines. So this is our kit review, and enough of talking, and let's start building. So we're gonna start this build by preparing the engines. So initially, of course, we're gonna cut the part from the sprues, remove them and prepare them. Then we're gonna glue them. I'm gonna use very thin glue on that model. I realize that that's really helping. Having a much better result. So then we're gonna add the alternator and the other parts. There will be a little bit of a fiddling, but overly speaking, I have to say that those Eduard kits are far beyond what I saw, especially in the old days. As you see, I've been doing a lot of old models, old collector kits, but I have to say that those Profi kits and generally speaking, those Eduard kits are really the benchmark. I mean, it's really the best quality I've been working with. So after preparing the engines, we're gonna start preparing and assemble the cockpit. So of course we're gonna remove the parts from the sprue, and then of course a little bit of a preparation, some thin glue, and we're gonna assemble all the parts together. Then of course we're gonna, to be able to have the proper angle for that cockpit, we're gonna use the fuselage itself, and at least then we have a proper angle, and then there won't be any misfitting or misadjustment during the build. So the kit and the cockpit has a lot of different parts, and as you saw on the preview picture, we're gonna do all the details of the engines and the guns as well. So of course that's gonna require a little bit more of work ahead, but of course with the Profi kit and all the parts we are having, I mean, everything is really fitting very nicely. So I have to say that, yeah, it was quite amazing kit to build. So we're gonna put now the rudder pedals, and slowly we're gonna build all those little parts all together before moving on to the paint. Basically we're gonna take everything to the paint shop, do a little bit of airbrushing, but I'll let you discover that in a little while. We're now doing our first move to the paint booth, and we're gonna basically paint that engine with a bright black color. Then we'll be able to do a little bit of weathering later on. Then I'm gonna use basically some dark gray color for the interior, for the cockpit and all the interior parts of that BF109. So after that, of course, there will be a little bit of things to paint on the sprues directly, like the main landing wheel well. Then we're gonna start weathering our engine, and for this I'm using the dry brush technique, which is quite known by now. So basically you take some metallic paints, and then you're gonna remove all the extra paint from the brush, and then you're gonna put it all around, as you can see, and that's gonna enhance all the details basically of the kit. So that's the first step I'm going to use toward the weathering, and to give a more realistic and more deepness to the kit. Then of course we'll add some more details, and there will be also a little bit of wash. I'm going to use a brown wash for the lower part of the cockpit, trying to replicate a little bit of the mud, and then a black wash for the side walls of the kit of the cockpit. And then of course we're gonna add both colors, and that's gonna give a little bit more realistic effect. Then we're gonna use a matte black basically for the flight controls and for the stick, and of course the caoutchouc on the bottom. And then we're gonna be able to move on slowly to the photo edge part. And I have to say that those colored photo edge parts are just amazing. They give you so much details. I mean, yeah, I haven't been able to get a better result by myself, and I have to say that well, when you use those ones, always try to have an open canopy, then people can have a look and a glimpse at that cockpit, because that's really beautiful. Results are just outstanding. So we're gonna finish the dashboard, and then we're gonna have to fix it. Basically, we'll stick it in our cockpit later on. We'll now add the instrument panel onto our cockpit, and as you can see, it's not of a big deal. Then we're gonna add the small visor and then we're gonna start to paint our guns as well, and for this I use basically the metallic color for guns. Then we're gonna add, using the same color, some other pipes along the engines as well, and that's gonna be well, the easy part. Then we're gonna move on and add a little bit more extra weathering and dry brush technique as well. I will have to paint also a part of the visor. Then it's gonna be the time to add those front gun or nose guns, and there will be a little bit of a fiddling, and of course they're gonna be very nice and smooth on that model. We will go and move now to the fuselage. There is some more panel that we have to add before we can put everything together, and there are a few sides, a little bit of fiddling and adjustments on the parts, but yeah, you know, nothing too difficult as usual, but it's working very well so far, and that build is really a fun build to make. Then now we're gonna put the seat belt on our seat, on the pilot seat, and those are also colored photo etch part, and I'm gonna use a little bit of a super glue as well to be able to get them and to fix them basically on the seat, and then we'll be able to move on and put that seat, basically glue the seats on the model itself. So we will now put the cockpit inside the right side of the fuselage, trying to do a little bit of a fiddling, of course, using some more glue on the inside, trying to avoid to have those bonding. And then I'm gonna see how accurate basically is the engine, how we're gonna do the fiddling, and basically then we will have to do there is some other parts that I forgot in the middle, basically the engine exhaust that were not glued before that moment, so we're gonna have to add them as well before we close everything up, and we'll do it on both sides. Then we're gonna try to fix and put our engine still on the right side, and then we'll be able to close our fuselage. But first, of course, you have to make sure that everything fits together to avoid to have some bad surprise at the last minute. So once the glue was dried, it was time to, of course, remove all the little gaps. So I had just a little bit of a Tamiya putty, but I have to say there was not a big use of putty on that model versus some other brands, because honestly the bonds and the mold are really on a really high quality. So it was really easy to work with this one, not too much works as well, I mean, and the work is more sent to the details, basically detailing the aircraft itself, but as you could see, I mean, it's just a beautiful thing to do. So after that, of course, while you fill all the gaps, some part of the structure line disappeared, so you have to rescribe them, and that's part of it as well. So we use for this a razor blade saw, and it worked pretty easily. So we're going now to add our stabilizer, the horizontal stabilizer, and but still the same, I mean, nothing to discuss too much about it. Then we're gonna move on to our wings, and those wings are three parts. I mean, the other parts is in one piece, and then the left and the right. And the funny thing on that model as well, it came with the slats, all the flight controls, flaps, slats, ailerons, so that was a nice one. Then now we're gonna add some air filter that you have below, and that's also coming from those photo etch parts. So we're gonna do that for both sides, but nothing really too difficult, as you can see. Very easy to handle. So it's now time to move a little bit further. We're gonna add our wings to our fuselage. There will be this time a little bit of fiddling, and I have to say that of course there was a little bit of a gap closing, a little bit of a Tamiya putty once again, but very easy to handle. So it's now time to add those air filter, and pretty easy, I mean in one part after all the preparation, and I will use a clamp to keep them really bonded on the wings like that. It's always the easiest part, and then another clamp on the other side, and then pretty straightforward actually. After preparing our flaps, we're gonna now add them to the kit. So it's pretty easy, as you can see. I mean, they were made to be in landing position, so very easy to do it, both sides. And then we're gonna start putting the aileron on both sides, of course. Pretty straightforward again, and so really nice build to prepare. Then it's going to be time to prepare all the masking tape, as we're going to paint basically all the aircraft. So I had to do a little bit of a fiddling, covering the engine, the gun bay as well, and then add some mask provided by the kit as well for the windscreen. I'm using also some mousse to protect the air intake area, to avoid to have too much paint and to have some stuff. And then I'm doing, of course, some bonding. I'm using some kind of regular glue, I mean, or paper glue, and that's for the canopy. Like that I can put everything into one position, and then of course then I will add the mask to all the paint, and then it's going to be quite easy to work with that. So initially I will paint some gray color, dark gray color for the slats, and also for the cockpit. Like that I will have all the correct tone for the inside part. Then there is a walking area, and I will be using some black color, and then we'll paint of course the propeller as well in that matte color. Then we'll start to paint basically the camouflage, and I'm using the regular color for the German camouflage, a dark green for the top, and of course I'll have to paint the wings and of course the stabilizer. Then there will be some other adjustments with some other colors later on, and I will be following basically what's written on the camouflage sheet provided by Eduard. Then we're gonna move on to that light blue color. That's normally for the underbelly and the lower part of the belly and the fuselage. That's a very easy part to do. And then of course, depending on the camouflage you have, or the pilot who is flying the aircraft, well, you might have some different tones and different paint, but nothing too difficult. Basically you just follow what is the guide, and then sometimes you have to practice a little bit before moving on if you have to some irregular surface that you have to paint. After removing everything and all the masks, it's time to move on to decaling the aircraft, and I use the decals directly from the kit. No aftermarket decal for that. I mean, you have six different options if I remember correctly, and I have to say that they were really nice to work. I kept some for other models. I wanted to make the model of Adolf Galland, who was one of their ace and the youngest Luftwaffe general, and so you will see that in another video where I did the Tamiya 109, but that's for another video. So the decals are pretty straightforward. They will need a little bit of decal solution, then they will really add up perfectly to the surface. And what I like as well about those decals with Eduard is you have basically the livery and then a separate sheet where you have all basically the panels, instructions and everything. And that's really nice if you want to do some other livery or use some other aftermarket decals that you won't miss anything. And you really have a lot of small details. So that's the other nice things about those kits. So we will now move toward the build of our undercarriage. So of course there will be a little bit of a preparation. We have to remove all the parts from the sprues, and of course the gear bay will be glued, and I use always that very thin glue for the wheels. Then of course there will be a little bit of fiddling for the gear covers. So but still using the same technique and the same type of glue. Just the right thing is just get the right parts. Don't cut all the parts, just to be careful not to get the wrong parts on the other part. Then we're gonna move on to some antennas, and that part, I forgot the technical name of that part, but that's basically to compensate the effort you have on the flight controls. And it's a system of weight on the lower part of the aileron, and that's to help basically turning the effort on the flight controls. Then we're gonna add the pitot tube as well, and then of course we're gonna be able to put our undercarriage before moving on to the last part. So we will now paint basically the exhaust. For this I use a mix of rust pigment and metallic color, and that gives me that effect of a little bit rusted or oxidized exhaust, and that's it. I have to say that worked very well. I always get the right color, so that's what I've been using for a while. Then we're gonna move on to basically we're gonna use some dark wash. So for this I'm using that old technique that you saw on some of my former video. Basically I'm using some dark pastel color, and then I add a little bit of water and a drop of hand soap, and that gives you that nice texture. The great advantage of that technique is very forgiving. If you're not happy of the result at the end, basically when everything is dried and you can't get rid of the marks, you just wash with water and then you remove everything from your model. So that's a very forgiving technique, and that's something I really been enjoying for years now. So after finishing these, we're gonna start painting our propeller, so while the wash is drying. So the inner part of the propeller is on a metallic color, so I will be using some regular dull aluminium, and then I'll have to add that on the cone. But before that we're gonna start removing all the wash now. So I'm using basically humid cloth. It's not really too wet, and that's just to be able to remove the initial part. Then I use another dry cloth. I realized that through doing all those models, that's basically you use the first part with a little bit of humidity, moisture, and then basically you use a dry cloth to remove the extra wash, and that gives you basically that nice texture basically where you have the dirt accumulation. You can give that speed effect as well on the wings, so that's the easiest part. So that's the best technique for me at the moment. If I found something better, of course I'll let you know. So we're gonna keep weathering the plane. So this time now I'm gonna do again some dry brushing on the engines on the top, and of course there will be some on the walkway and on the wings to try to replicate the cheap paint basically from the aircraft. And I have to say that's working quite nice. You do that on all over basically the models, and that but a little bit of time and patience you can get pretty decent result, I have to say. So now we're gonna add our propeller to the model, and we will be moving on toward removing, of course, the cockpit masking tape as well, and then we'll add the canopy in the open position basically on that 109. It's now time to ask the last little details on the propeller as well. There will be some decals that we're gonna have to add as well, and then some other parts for the overall aircraft. Of course, some symbols, and but nothing too complicated. And then we'll be able to finalize our model. And this is the end result of that BF109 E from Eduard ProfiPack edition. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done it yet, and I will see you soon for another kit review and another build video. Thank you for watching.